So we talked a little bit about the Soviet Union, and I happen to have lived through the collapse of the Soviet Union. And so, what are the factors, the causes in your mind to why the Soviet Union collapsed?
So definitely a multivariate situation. I think there's a lot of factors. One that jumped out to me recently, again from that documentary that I didn't note before, was that at one point Stalin eliminated, I think, 75% of his intelligence force,
Hmm.
um, which I think when you're competing with another nation state, and intelligence and covert operations are very integral to your survival. I think that was definitely a shot in the foot. But at a higher level, I would say that capitalism and communism were each resource strategies of the 20th century nation state. Um, and they seem, we commonly consider them to be diametrically opposed, but there's actually a lot of commonality between the two. The difference would be that in Soviet Russia, as we alluded to earlier, they tried to completely replace price signals with this nationalistic faith and devotion. So
Hmm.
they removed the economic nerve signal which coordinated the allocation of capital over time. So this inhibited their ability to generate wealth. Whereas in the United States, we left most markets open to free enterprise. So we honored the integrity of price signals and we allowed people to trade and accumulate wealth. Um, so in every market except the market for money, both markets maintained a central bank as we've gotten to. So I think in a really big picture standpoint, that's why capitalism outcompetes communism, is because it is able to generate more wealth than communism was, and therefore was able to put financial pressure on the USSR until it reached the point of bankruptcy, essentially. This a similar model, I would argue, is that for the same reasons we saw capitalism outcompete communism, which I think at the data that I recall was that the USSR's economy was valued at close to 1/3 of its inputs. So if you just didn't do anything inside the USSR and just sold all the raw materials that were going into it, it would have been worth 3 times as much as sending the materials in, running it through the efforts, and then shipping things back out. It was value destructive versus value creative. And I would argue this is because, again, the centralized computing model versus decentralized computing model, it just became more and more corrupt over time. Um, it got to the point where I think most of the occupations in USSR towards the end were as informants, right? They were working for the state. Jordan Peterson makes this point too, that at some point it was actually illegal to be sad in Soviet Russia, because if you were sad, you were contradicting the utopian view of the state. So if you were sad, you're implying the state's not doing something wrong.